After a brief hiatus due to a small lesser known holiday called Christmas, we have now returned to our Logging Empire series with episode 4. And let me just say, God, does it feel good to be back. For today's episode, I want to begin by talking about some new items we're going to be creating to sell. We're going to be making some musical instruments, that's right, drums, harps, harpsichords, maybe pianos, probably not, because they take steel, but who knows. We sat Birch's big ass down at the researching table and didn't let him get up until he researched harps, and then we forced Kibby to get started on, making some harps. You know, because, we're going to sell them. I mean, for God's sake, are you people even listening? I just said that. We created our first harp, and it was only normal quality, but that's okay. We get a little bit of silver out of it anyhow. We also set up a new room in the warehouse solely for creating drums, uninstalling drums, and then hauling them to the shelves. And you know, now that I think about it, it's probably not that bad to make pianos, because for drums we have to use different types of leathers and wools anyway, so it's not all wood, and neither are pianos, but I didn't make any in this video just because. Just because why, Rat Knight, I hear you say? Well, listen, George. I assume that's probably your name. You sound like a George. I don't know, I'm lazy. Get over it. And I also have a little bit of a throat cold, as you could probably tell, so I sound just a tad bit squeaky. It fits with the rat aesthetic. After building and hauling our very first set of drums to the shelves, we also began working on some wooden prosthetics. We began working on wooden feet. We only made about 2 of them because I kind of realized that this takes an ungodly amount of time and it's just not worth it. We could build harps and whatnot in that time, and they would be worth a lot more than the wooden prosthetics. Another bright idea I decided to have, instead of selling our baby animals, I decided to murder them, use their leather, and make drums. That way we're all happy and, we're not getting silver from selling animals, we're just selling, their skin. Stretched across a piece of wood that we hollowed out and tricked somebody into thinking that it was a musical instrument. I mean, we're really the only loggers on this planet, so nobody really knows the difference. Except for me, of course. I know the difference. But it'll be my little secret. Alright, creepy ASMR voice aside, I'm really happy with how the colony's coming along. We truly are shaping up to be an empire. Look how beautiful this place is. I love seeing these colonies in the snow as well, like these Victorian era, colonial era kind of colonies. It's just, I love it. I don't know, especially around like this time of year. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Fitz also seemed to really enjoy it, as I found him drunkenly passed out in our library. Sometime later, we had a wonderfully large group of Thromboian tribespeople who were coming to murder us. They intended on breaching our walls. Luckily, I planned for this and had only built, half-assed walls, so they would have to come and fight us directly. And lucky for us, most of our loggers were much better shot with their rifles and pistols than Birch ever wished to be with a cannon. Though I must say he did get lucky a few times. I think we all got lucky quite a few times, as a lot of our traps killed most of the tribespeople as well. We fired at them in the freezing snow long enough that they finally decided to flee after we slaughtered many of their tribes members. And they were ever so kind in leaving a few of them behind, that way we could enslave them and force them to cut down trees and make art and whatnot. Or we could even brainwash them and force them to kill their own tribespeople that left them behind to die in the snow at our hands. Oh, only time will tell. But enough about slaughtering tribespeople, let's talk shop. Let's get down to brass tacks, as they say. For this episode's first trade, we're going to have an inventory of the following: 51 drums, 17 harps, 15 wood plate helmets, 8 small wooden sculptures, 6 grand wooden sculptures, 5 wooden warhammers, 5 wooden recurve bows, 3 wood plate armor, 3 great bows, 2 pilas, 1 short bow, and 1 wooden club. You wouldn't believe how many takes it took for me to get that right. I'm going to tell you, it took 3 tries. That's right, I know, it's pretty impressive. Anyhow, though, we are going to take out this very first inventory load, and we are going to trade with the Brits, the French, and I believe we also trade with a friendly Thrumbo tribe. When it was all said and done, we returned with 6,407 silver. Not really the haul that I was looking for. I think it was this point that I realized that, as many of you have pointed out, selling weapons and whatnot isn't really what we should be doing. Really what we should just focus on is like grand sculptures. But I don't want it to be just that. I want to focus on like some armors and stuff like that, so we kind of keep it with the narrative. Because for God's sake, people, we're the Stardust Logging Company. We don't just make art, we fund wars with armor and things like that. I mean, as long as we're getting paid, Birch doesn't give a shit whose war is being fought or who's dying or whatever, as long as they're putting a little bit of silver in his pocket for his high quality goods. We decided to recruit one of the Thrumboian tribespeople that had attacked us before instead of enslaving them. Unfortunately, this must have really pissed off Angie since we had enslaved her before and she decided to rebel. But just like Kibby's pappy taught her growing up, the quickest resolution to a rebellion is a few shots from the old scattergun. And Kibby was a firm believer in her pappy's advice, so she started pumping old Angie full of lead. But Angie's desire for freedom outweighed very small lead balls that would come out of a blunderbuss, so Kibby took the gun and smacked her over the head a few times until she hit the ground. But hey, look on the bright side. Angie's no longer rebelling, she's going to heal from that probably, and we can get back to making high quality wooden goods. Actually, before we get back to producing goods, Birch decided to take most of the loggers out on a little bit of a mega sloth hunt, and I must say, they were pretty successful. He thought it a bit of a thank you for all the hard work that they had done. Nothing says thank you like going out and murdering some gentle giant animal for fun. A little bit of time later, we ended up recruiting the other Thrumboian tribesperson who previously tried to murder us, but now they're our pal, and they're going to help out around the place and maybe clean or scrape some shit off the ground, I don't know. But the population growth didn't stop there. We had someone named Everett calling from nearby saying that she would come here and cut down trees, basically free labor, if we would essentially provide her food and shelter. Naturally, we accepted. She had a pretty decent plant skill, so she was actually going to be our dedicated logger. We had a lot of people switched over to crafting and things like that, and I'd have to manually switch back and forth to get wood, yada yada, so this would be perfect. Everett cut down several trees and hauled the logs all the way home for us, while the other loggers played in the town square with some local wildlife. Good kitty cat. We also began a designated tree growing zone within our city limits, that way in case something were to happen, like a fire or something, we would at least have this to fall back on. And during this time, I must say, business was booming. Production was in full swing. We were making drums, we were making art, we were making armors. It was a wonderful time. Production was going so well, in fact, it was finally time for another large caravan to trade with the Brits and the French, etc., etc. Alright, so in this trade caravan, we had a smaller selection of items, but we had more of the items that made more money, essentially. This time around, we had approximately 63 drums, 38 wooden plate helmets, 9 wooden grand sculptures, 13 wooden small sculptures, 13 wooden plate armor, 2 harpsichords, and 1 single pila. Other than the singular pila that I think we got from a raid possibly, these big ticket items would really be bringing in the moolah. So naturally, Happy Oak set out with a few of the other loggers and a slave or two or something of that sort to trade all of our wonderful high quality timber goods. And this time around we made some real money. We made 19,338 silver on one singular trade caravan. That was amazing for us. It was so amazing, in fact, for us that we had to build more pallets to hold all the stacks of silver, and just as well we ended up having to take out many of the large shelves that were in there to make room for pallets that could hold more. But when you do as much trading with everyone as we do, word gets around, and just as I've mentioned many a time, it also gets around to the wrong ears, such as this extremely large band of pirates who are going to come and slaughter us and try to take all of our money. It's also worth mentioning we had a few people from a bulk goods trade caravan that got killed by the pirates as well, but they weren't our people, so we didn't care. Throughout this cold, snowy night, all you could hear was the crack of mortars and flintlock weaponry just being fired in the direction of the pirates. It was a true sight to behold. And I truly believe it was the sheer desire of our loggers to keep pushing forward and to survive that won in the end of the day, because this was no longer just a logging company, this was our home. And to show these pirates that we were truly hell-bent on protecting our home, those that had fallen and not died, we decided to strip them, not just because we'd like to have their clothing, we could make that ourselves. We wanted them to freeze out in that cold. We wanted them to be taught a lesson. But a little while after committing war crimes against enemy soldiers, we decided to mine out a section of this small hill next to the logging city and begin setting up a massive room for nothing but drums because they just take up so much damn space. After setting in the walls and a beautiful fireplace to keep the place nice and warm and whoever's in there working building the drums, we finally began production on our first set of drums in the new warehouse. But I hear you say, Rat Knight, drums are not a big-ticket item. I thought you were doing big-ticket items, you big dummy. Well, unfortunately, George, I did say that. But we have so much leather and whatnot, I don't want to just sell it or just sell the animals. I think that this is a good in-between for that, and they make a little bit of money for us. Another good thing about the drums is people who are dog shit at crafting but great at construction like Birch can do them, and we can sell them as well so they can contribute. During this time though, one snowy winter night, of course, we were being raided once again by a Thromboian tribe. The problem is Birch was out cutting trees or hunting, and he got caught by a few of them. Luckily Birch didn't die, but they did shatter his kneecaps with a few pieces of timber. It's kind of poetic, really. Naturally, we retaliated by firing these massive cannons at their friends and turning them into red mist vapor powder and puddles on the ground. Luckily for us, it didn't take too many of them to be turned into cherry Kool-Aid powder for them to begin running away. And kindly enough of them, they didn't decide to kidnap Birch either, so he just kind of laid there in a puddle of his own blood. But do you remember how earlier I said they shattered his kneecaps with logs? Well, turns out I was wrong. They actually shattered his kneecaps with metal axes, and by shattered kneecaps, I mean that he was missing a leg. And by that I mean he actually lost his leg in like episode 2, but we're going to pretend that it happened in this battle because it'll be the perfect excuse for me to make a mechanical leg for him. And I must say it takes forever to get these mechanical limbs done. They are wonderful, but they literally take days of constant work to make. They're well worth it, but they take forever. Happy Oak brought the mechanical leg to his good old friend Birch, and luckily for all of us, the surgery went off without a hitch, no problems, no nothing, and he would sort of be able to walk perfect again. He would have a slight limp, but that's okay. And to end this episode with a very happy note, our slave Bacchus was impregnated by our slave Olive Branch. The two had been in love for quite a while, so I decided to make them their own little room and gave them a double bed, and I guess they finally got it on. They must have had a lot of sexual tension as they've been together for quite a while. And that brings up a good point. If two RimWorld slaves have a baby, does it come out as a colonist or does it come out as a slave? Well, to be honest with you, I don't really care, okay? I'm here to cut down timber, high quality timber, and turn it into armor and art and make some silver, baby. That's what we're doing here. We don't care about no babies, unless you can put an axe in its hand and make it go out and cut down some trees. You know what? Actually, I'm pretty sure we can do that. Maybe we do care. But I must say, the logging empire is really coming along. We're quite a bustling city at this point. I think I said that before, but we truly are. We're at the point now with trade caravans that we are making like 20,000 silver. The first trade caravan was 6,000 silver, and then the second was 20,000. I plan on making much, much larger trade caravans. The only problem that we run into is finding people to trade with, which is not too big of a deal. We have the Prussians, the French, everyone, but we only have a few settlements around us. There are some factions maybe we could try to make friends with so that we can actually trade goods with them. That might be something that we look into doing in the future, and it would be a good use of things like weapons and whatnot that we have lying around. We could gift it to them to boost relations. That might be a good idea. But guys, I just want to thank you ever so much for watching this episode and just for your support with the channel and the series. Thank you guys so much, man. It honestly means the world to me. I know a lot of you guys are new with this series. This series has brought in so many new people, and I absolutely love it. I am so excited with the growth and everything with the channel and this series, how well it's doing. I'm really glad that everybody enjoys this, and I'm glad this can be our series where, you know, I can give you guys a story that you enjoy and stuff. So I just want to thank you guys, man. Thank you so much for watching and supporting me and this series, the channel. Just thank you guys so much. But folks, we are going to go ahead and call it for this episode. This has been episode 4 of the Logging Empire. Once again, thank you guys for everything. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have had a blast with this episode. I have had a lot of fun with it. It took me quite a while to record it, mostly because the production of items just takes absolutely forever to get anywhere that we can actually make some money. But it has been a lot of fun on this episode, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye, guys.